Hey there, everyone. Welcome to your first Photopea project. It's going to be great. You're going to be editing and then combining photos to end up with something that looks a little bit like this. We'll start by downloading these two pictures, downloading the hills photo, and downloading the rabbit photo. And then you're going to open up the website that we're using, photopea.com. Here it is. So my downloads, they just showed up at the bottom of my screen. For you, on whatever computer you're on, you are going to have to find your files, find your downloads folder, and from there you're going to click and drag your hills photo and drop it on top of the photo, this Photopea middle part here. Just let go. And your photo will open up in Photopea. Okay, to get started, this picture is looking it's looking pretty nice. I just want to introduce you though to some of these tools. So over here is the tools panel. I think you all know what cropping does. We'll just practice a little bit with the crop tool. And to use the crop tool on Photopea, you can just click and drag a selection box around the area that you want to crop. Let go. From here, you're able to move it around a little bit more. And when you're good with your crop, you can click the check mark. Feel free to crop your photo however you want for this project. The picture, I think, is looking a little bit dark, and so we're going to add some brightness to it by adding an adjustment layer. Over here, this circle opens up all of the adjustment layers. Look at all these cool things that you can do. You can change the colors, you can change the saturation, the vibrance, you can make something black and white. We're going to be using the brightness contrast adjustment layer. It just popped up in this box, and I'm going to increase the brightness of my photo a little bit. On my computer with my settings, 42 looks good. On your computer, use whatever number looks best with your screen. I'm just going to click Pro for properties to close that. So we've used the Tools panel, and now we have this Layers panel over here. It's called the Layers panel. And how Photopea and Photoshop work is that you're literally editing your picture in layers. So you're creating layer upon layer with new edits onto the original photo. So with our first layer, the layer that's on the bottom, we have our background picture. The background picture was just the original downloaded photo that we brought in. Above it, we have our adjustment layer for brightness contrast that we just added. Over here, we see some eyeballs. If I click that eyeball, I'm turning the eye off. That means that layer is no longer on, and you can see what the picture originally looked like. I click the eyeball again, the brightness contrast adjustment layer is back. So this is really useful. It's really easy to see the edits that you made. My picture's looking pretty good. One thing that I want to do though, like, it's so beautiful with the scenery, but there's a bunch of poles and wires in there. And so I am going to erase them. And you are too. We're going to be creating a new layer. Previously we made the adjustment layer, now we're doing just a new layer. And this is just a completely empty layer. These gray and white check marks mean that the layer is transparent. There's nothing on it. I'm going to double click and rename that spot healing because that's the tool that we're about to use. As you're working in Photopea, if you accidentally make a mistake with something, you can always go up to Edit and step backwards. And that undoes whatever you just did. And to bring it back, you can do step forward. So the spot healing brush tool is right here. I'm just going to click and hold down on that tool. And you can see that there's actually a whole bunch of other tools that are hidden under that one. And the same thing applies for every tool in the tools panel. Like if you click and hold down, you see a whole bunch of other tools also. So I want to click and hold down, and I want to select the Spot Healing brush tool. You can see my mouse, it's up here in the sky. I want it to be about the size of those poles and wires, so I need to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to click here and increase the brush size. That looks about good. Go a little bit bigger. Okay. And I'm just going to click somewhere in my picture to close that area. Before I can start clicking though, or actually I'll show you, if I start clicking, nothing happens. Why not? First off, I want to make sure that I have the spot healing layer selected. You can see it's dark gray. I want to be on the spot healing layer. And up here it says source current layer. In order for that spot healing brush tool to work, Photopea needs to be seeing every single layer and seeing all the information of the picture from each layer. So I need to change that from current layer to all layers. Okay. And from here I'm able to just click and drag and like literally paint over the stuff that I want to remove. And we'll plan to just remove those poles, remove the wires, and you can just do it by clicking and dragging to paint over it. I'm not going to do all of this, but like you can see the other wires here. You can see some wires here in front of the trees. You can see another pole here. Or erase all of those so that they're not like in the middle of your picture. Okay, so our picture is looking pretty good. One thing we're going to do right now is save our work. So as you're working in Photopea, nothing is automatically saving. So if you accidentally close the tab, if your Wi-Fi accidentally goes out, your work is not going to save. What you have to do is go up to File, and then Save as PSD. And what that does is it literally downloads a .psd file. It's downloading a special file that works with Photoshop or Photopea. This file is going to show up in your downloads folder. If you're like in the middle of working on something, you want to come back to it later, all you have to do is double click on that, or I'm sorry, not double click on it. All you have to do is then drag this file back into Photopea to reopen it. And the good thing about the .psd file is it saves all of your layers that you're working on. Okay, so our hills are looking good. We're now going to do some stuff with the rabbit picture. I'm going to click and drag the rabbit picture from my downloads wherever they are on my computer. And I'm going to place it up here on this bar, which highlights in blue, and then I'm going to let go. And the rabbit picture just opened up another picture, sort of like another tab in Photopea. So I have these two tabs now. And right now our rabbit has a white background. If we put this picture into the hills picture, it would not look good. It would look like that. We do not want that. And so we need to make the white background transparent. To do that, we're going to duplicate the background layer. I'm just going to click and drag the background layer into that new layer icon, and it just makes a copy of it. And I'm just going to turn the background layer off. We just want to keep the original there. We don't want to mess with the original. I need to figure out how to erase that white area. And I'm going to use a special tool. It's 1, 2, 3 down, click and hold down, and we're selecting the magic wand. The magic wand is a selection tool, and it selects everything that's the same color. So I'm going to click in this white area, and you can see that we now have a selection of everywhere that's white on this image. I want to delete the white part. I want to make it transparent. I'm going to click delete on my keyboard. And this white and gray area, it signifies that that part is transparent. We can still see this selection around it. I'm going to go up to select and deselect, just to get rid of the selection. We're going to be working with this layer. I'll just double click and name it rabbit. Okay. And to get our rabbit into the hills, you're going to click and hold down and drag this layer. You're going to drop it, you're going to move it up to that hills.psd tab. You can see it highlights in blue when it's there, and I'm just going to let go. And there's my rabbit in the hills. The arrow is the selection tool. I can click and drag the rabbit to move it, making sure though that I'm on the right layer, right? If I'm on the spot healing layer and I'm trying to drag my rabbit, it's not going to go anywhere. So making sure that I'm on my rabbit layer. I can go up to edit. Transform allows you to like flip or rotate things. So you might want to use that too. I'm going to go to free transform for this. And I'm just going to resize my rabbit. I think for most computers, if you hold down the shift key, you can resize and actually scale it, so not squishing the rabbit. Click the check mark when that transform looks good. And there's your picture. Feel free to add however many rabbits you want anywhere in the picture. If you want to get creative and add in other pictures, like other animals or whatever, that's absolutely fine as well. So right now this looks good for this assignment. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to File, and I'm just going to save the Photoshop file one more time, right? So we're saving all of our work, saving all of the layers. To turn this in on Google Classroom though, I'm going to actually save it as a JPEG. So most of the pictures that we work with, you can see here like the rabbit, the hills extensions, it says .jpeg. I'm going to export as a JPEG. And this new picture is the one that I will turn in on Google Classroom.